Hey, movie fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Uncharted Media Podcast. This is episode 216. Wrestlemania is this weekend, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around the fact that Wrestlemania is a two-night thing and has been for the past couple of years. But honestly, it's a much better option. Just break it up, because back then you're watching NXT one night and you're watching WrestleMania the next night. You're doing a two-night event anyway if you're wrestling diehard. I think splitting it up over 2 nights is just a good idea. So, because we like our themings every once in a while, it's totally subjective when we decide to do themings around here.
Yeah.
We're like, let's do something wrestling related. And thankfully, wrestlers becoming movie stars is having a higher success rate than it has in the past when WWE insisted that they have a guy that has enough charisma that could carry a movie franchise, and then they don't. Looking at you, Ted DiBiase Jr. with the Marine 2. But thankfully, wrestlers are becoming better actors. So we're going to look at the best movie performances by actors. I feel like we've done something similar to this in the past, but we're looking specifically not for the movies that they're in, but their individual performances. And mine kind of evolved in a weird way, so we'll kind of get there when we get there. But Josh, how you doing tonight?
Chilling like a villain, my dude. It's it's not really doing much to this week. I don't know, just reading and drawing and watching stuff. So
you watching anything good?
I went through my this week. I did my quarterly cleanup of YouTube subscriptions of I haven't watched you in like 6 months, so let's unsubscribe just because it just helps. I don't like having 100 subscriptions and not that they cost me anything, but just having 100 subs and being it just clutters
your subscription feed.
It doesn't help you my algorithm or anything like that either. So
I really want to know what my algorithm thinks of my viewing habits. They're probably just like, what is he doing?
I've made a conscious decision to step away from some of the gaming YouTubers I watch. Being that I don't game all that much these days anymore. Obviously I still follow Mark and Jack because those are my boys. I will always follow them no matter what.
You watch them more for the personality than the game that they're playing.
Absolutely. And that's why I think I follow Bob still too, is because he I just like his personality over Wade's, whatever it is, what it is. That's all opinion based. But then I've decided to start following more essay style channels and more long form content, as opposed to just hey, we bought a house and this is how we're renovating it. That kind of stuff. I want more long form, actual stuff that to kind of fill that gap for me for documentaries, so that I don't always find in a good spot on streaming services. So that's honestly was most of today.
Nice. I've had a lot of red letter media, best of the worst on in the background while I'm doing work and whatnot. Just hearing the most cynical movie people in the world is kind of entertaining every once in a while with their, honestly, meant as a joke, but it's great. It's a great line of bad movies aren't truly fun to watch unless the people making them actually tried, or bad movies are only fun when they're with a group of people. I'm like, that is so true, as you and I have had to do 5 Good Things watching by ourselves, and it's just the worst.
Yes.
But for the first time in a long time, it feels like, Josh and I both saw something at the same time this weekend, more or less. I just saw it a day ahead of Josh. John Wick Chapter 4. Josh, what did you think of John Wick Chapter 4? I think, judging by your text, I think I might have been a little more jazzed for it than you were.
Yeah, I definitely, I think it might have a few pacing problems, but that's just, I think, the nature of the beast a little bit. I think I don't think that's necessarily a tick against it, but I enjoyed it thoroughly. I think one of the small little details I saw in this one in comparison to some of the other ones is I like that if it's not a gunfight, the fight takes a little bit longer to resolve. Like, so when he takes a guy to a ground or something, it does take 5, 10, sometimes 30
That
seconds to
nunchuck
dispatch
fight.
that guy, and not just a boom, 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 boom. Like, there was a lot of change in action, a lot of different levels of action, pun intended, I guess, because there's that whole scene where you've seen the trailer of him fighting up the stairwell. I've tried to keep it as spoiler free as possible, but I did enjoy it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I think I still like the second one better.
Really? You like the second one the best?
Yeah, I do. I think. Oh, you know what? It's hard because sometimes they all three of them kind of meld together. But I think no, yeah, because three was Parabellum, wasn't it? Yeah, three is probably the height, and that's not to say that this one is not good. I enjoyed it. It's still a solid. Like, even if I add all my critiques into there, it's still a solid 8.5 out of 10. It's a pretty good movie. It's a good time. But yeah, like you definitely, you were hyped. I remember when
I
texted
freaking
you,
love this
or
movie
you texted me
so much.
Yeah, you were hyped.
This is the best
Yeah.
movie of the year so far. It's not even really close. But then again, that's because we've had like Ant-Man and Shazam, and because this movie did well and those two didn't, you're starting to see that panic of people going, "Oh no, is this the end of superhero movies?" It's like, no. This movie was like built on previously other good movies and had good marketing and actually delivered on expectations, so that's why it's doing well. Don't overthink this, people. No, I love John Wick 4. I was a little surprised to see you're just like, it's good. I thought you'd be like bouncing off the walls like me, because this feels like it was made for Josh. I love the camera work in the first three, but the camera work in this one especially, there's a top-down scene that I'm just going, oh yeah. Or if anybody that knows what I'm talking about will know, stairs. Just, God, I hope you paid your stunt people well for that movie, because good Lord,
Yeah,
I'm going to need a
seriously.
corridor crew breakdown of all of this movie in particular, because there's a lot of big stunt falls. Although, because of corridor crew, there's a couple times in the movie that I'm going, everyone's wearing tuxes so you can hide your pads. Like some of the big beefy guys that attack the Tokyo hotel. I'm like, I can clearly see your knee pads here. Like, you clearly are padded up as you should be.
Yeah.
No, I love John Wick.
Yeah, because some of those guys take some wicked falls.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's some wicked times that the Keanu takes too, like the one out of the second story onto the van. Like, I was like, ow, no,
yeah,
oh,
that had
goodness.
my whole theater audibly gasping, just going, oh. But it's still a good narrative. But then again, like I said in my review, you can check out the full Uncharted Media spoiler-free review here at the channel. John Wick is still continuing to be a really good character, but never the most interesting protagonist. That goes to Kane. This is Kane's franchise now. He is so much cooler than John Wick. Like, we'll talk about it here in our news in a second. I feel pretty confident saying that one of the spinoffs that they're developing has to be a Kane project, just because John Wick's cool. Kane's movement almost defies the laws of physics. Like, there's a couple times I'm just going, humans don't move that fast. That's not humanly possible. Camera work's great, music's great. I just love John Wick 4 so much. But besides that, Josh, you watched anything recently?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Mando episode 4. I think I liked episode 4 a lot more than it seems the general Star Wars fan liked it.
That's because you just can enjoy things.
I guess. Yeah. And that was it. It was like everyone was like, all right, cool. Let's take the it was like some reel I saw. It was like, let's take everything that's interesting about the Mandalorian episode 4. And they literally cut out the entire bit of the Coruscant stuff. And I was like, come on, I find that so interesting. Are you kidding me? But yeah, like Mandalorian episode 4, 5 is tomorrow. So because we record these on Tuesdays most of the time. I'm excited to see where we're going in 5. I'm still hyped about where we're going to end up at the end of the season. I still say it's going to be Thrawn, or they're laying the foundation for the First Order. Either way, I'm down. I'm here for it. I also started watching Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities this week. It's like 8 episodes long, so it's not that long, and it's for those that don't know, it's an anthology horror series. No 2 episodes are connected. They're all done by different directors. It's very good. I haven't thoroughly enjoyed it. The first 2, I've seen for the first 3 episodes. The first 2 they're good. I enjoy them. They scratch the Lovecraftian itch in the back of my brain of like horror that about people who are morally ambiguous and so thus make bad decisions, and it doesn't always go well for them. I appreciate that evil is allowed to sit and not just like, all right, cool, but we got to have a good moral upcoming at the end. Like the second one is about grave rats that like are stealing bodies and stuff. It's so wild. But the third episode, I legitimately was late to a dinner with family because I was like, I could just pause this and finish it later, but I literally like I want to say it's like an hour long. The last like 20 minutes is straight monologue between 2 characters describing certain things, and it is some of the most gripping TV I have ever witnessed. The third one is about aliens, but not in the way you think it is. It was so like, I love this show so much, and I'm excited to finish it. And just so it's out in the airwaves, I have promised Nathan that once I finish Cabinet of Curiosities, Superman and Lois will be next. So I will.
So yeah, that brings me to mine. What I wanted to talk about, but I'm curious how much I want to say. Yeah. Because we're now in season 3. Like they just dropped the 2nd episode. So basically, I never watch them live because we're always recording. But the 2nd episode of season 3 dropped a bombshell that I was not expecting. I'll go into it now just because I'll just say, and Josh will just kind of know that fact, but because it just happened, I'm curious to see how it'll play out for the rest of the season. So in the first episode of season 3, Clark and Lois think that they might be pregnant, which they didn't know was still possible. And so I'm just like, oh, that's what the creators were talking about when they said that they were going to do a very different story angle for the family this season. I was going, okay, that could be different. But then we find out at the end of that first episode of season 3, nah, you're not pregnant, never mind. But she goes back to the doctor in episode 2 going, well, why were the tests all negative and whatnot if I'm not pregnant? Turns out Lois has breast cancer. And I'm just going, I thought we were going to go with like a miscarriage storyline here if you're not actually pregnant, but we're going with Lois has breast cancer. And I'm watching this going, this is what Love and Thunder should have done with the cancer storyline, because she knows it. Audience does not know it. Clark does not know it. So Lois is doing her own thing, and she's trying to talk to someone, like actually help this person. And she says something about like, I know what it's like to be afraid. I'm afraid because I have cancer. And as soon as she says that is when Superman shows up, and Superman has to pretend to not be affected by this because the person that they're talking to does not know that Lois and Superman are married. So to watch...
oh my gosh, that's so good!
To watch Superman try and hold back tears because his wife's been hiding this from him all day, to which they talk about it, and they talk about like an actual family, the 2 of them together. Like, this is clearly going to be a thing all season, but I trust the writing to be good enough. And so the boys come home after their thing that they've been doing all episode, and it's just like, come sit down at the table, we got something to tell you. And then they cut to like just muted silence as though you can see the characters mouth what they're saying. And before she says it, you can clearly read her lips. And the boys just look at each other and immediately stand up and go and hug their mom in silence. And I'm just going, just stop. Just stop. Like, you do not deserve to be this good. And I'm like, God, Superman and Lois is so freaking good.
I'm trying to like wrap my head. That is such a good, it feels like a a storyline that makes sense. Like you give Superman, the man who can literally move planets with his bare hands, and put him against something that he can't stop. Like that's, oh dude, that's so good. I love that so much. I'm excited. Like I'm already excited for the show. I have such a backlog of shows to watch and I'm continuously ignoring my dad watching Cobra Kai. So I've got to focus. I've got to focus, man.
But yeah, like Heather and I were watching it, and when she said the C word, I audibly was like, what? Because it just blindsides you. I was just like, all right, well, if they didn't have a kid, they might be going for a miscarriage angle, which could be it's another, like a cancer, it would be a very difficult tightrope to walk in terms of how do you tell this story effectively. But I'm going, oh man, this is going to be rough. But they treat it with the reverence and respect that type of material deserves, as opposed to Love and Thunder going, you got cancer. Isn't that funny? You're going to die at the end of this movie, but it's funny. Like, I was like, God, that's brutal, but I cannot wait to see what direction to go with the rest of this. And now Josh has even more of a hook to watch the show.
Yeah. I mean, I was already stoked, but like, I love it when shows are like, yeah, we know that nobody's really like watching us, but we're gonna put out some awesome content regardless.
Now for some movie news, as this is some late developing stuff, but it was timed perfectly, I think. And that is, supposedly we're getting multiple John Wick spin-off projects, but I feel like that part of it was already announced, but we're getting some more concrete details, so to speak. Like, there's multiple developments here, so to speak, of the Ballerina movie starring Ana de Armas, which I'm still super excited for, now is supposedly coming out next year. And then the Continental series, which is supposed to be a prequel about the New York branch of the Continental, will be about a young Winston in the 1970s and is supposed to debut this fall. And it'll be like 3 90-minute episodes, all set in that New York area. After seeing John Wick 4, after seeing all the John Wicks, I want more time with Winston. I want more time with all the characters, honestly. I think it would be cool, but I don't know how you go. But obviously, you're going to have to recast him because Ian McShane is not young. But does that mean you also...
What?
Does that mean you also cast a young version of Lance Reddick? In which case,
yeah,
you just gotta careful with that, I guess.
I think for me, when it comes to the movie, how unfortunate the first 15 minutes of that movie, what happens, that Lance ends up passing away in real life. It was like, oh, because it was so sudden. We know that they knew there was no way that they were gonna that they could have known, but it was like, oh, that's so heartbreaking that happened. Oh man. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they recast him.
Yeah. So we've got Ballerina supposed to coming in theaters next month, next summer. Continental sometime this fall, or it might have been next year. I can't remember. But most importantly, they said that we'll be getting news about more John Wick spin-offs within the next month or so, to which they didn't specify. But looking at the previous John Wicks, and especially John Wick 4, there's a lot of routes you can go here. And I mentioned it in my my John Wick 4 review. They do such a good job with all the John Wick movies of expanding out the universe, but never Amazing Spider-Man 2ing it, of feeling like this is just here to set up a spin-off movie. Like, they've actually really taken their time with spin-offs and not just bum rushing them out. Like, we didn't immediately get spin-offs after John Wick 2. Like, we've taken our time with this Ballerina thing. We've taken our time with this Continental thing. And therefore, it feels organic. Like, I organically want to see more of the characters in John Wick 4, whether it's Kane or Akira or Akira's father. Any of those characters, if we got either backstories or further adventures of those characters, I would be super down for. Common is still somewhere out there after, was it John Wick 2, I believe? Mm-hmm. Was it Zero in John Wick 3? Or was it was it Adriana on the first one, or Willem Dafoe's character in the first one?
Oh yeah. There's so many characters out there. I think I can almost guarantee that at least 2 spinoffs coming out of 4. And that would, I guess, spoilers a little bit.
We'll throw out the mild spoiler alerts here.
Definitely, if not a Kane solo, a Kane versus Akira,
or
movie.
Kane training Akira.
See, I don't know if she can forgive him for for him killing her father. But it would regardless be super cool, and I'm super down for it. Anything with more Donnie Yen, specifically that Donnie. Can I just nerd out for a second? Okay, because Kane like does this beautiful thing of like his style is so like somewhere in between a very like northern kung fu style and a drunken kung fu style. It's so like, and like Wing Chun in there, absolutely. And like when he was like throwing like the 20 punches to the guy's face, I was like, yeah, this is exactly what I thought we were gonna get when we had Donnie Yen in our film. But definitely a Kane versus or Kane training Akira, or Kane solo, Akira solo, one of the other. I'm okay with either. I actually loved Akira way more than I thought I would. But I think the one that I'd be more, as much as I love Kane, if we don't get a solo nobody movie, I don't know. Oh
yes,
dude, like that has to happen. He is one of the most interesting characters that wasn't directly tied to the Wick, like the Wick main storyline that came out of 4. The more and more we see of him in the 4th movie, the more and more I want him. I just want to see him. Like he's such like a cowboy, but like I just loved him so much.
He's very much like a Boba Fett type of just like, I'm here for the bounty, but only if the bounty is good and worth it. I haven't seen anybody throw this idea out there yet, so I'll call dibs on it first, because I don't know if it's a good idea or not, but it's an idea out there. So far, we haven't seen or met anybody actually on the high table, right? Like,
correct.
If tonally we wanted to go for something very different than action and more of like a Godfather or like a mobster, how does one get a seat on the high table, so to speak, of like what kind of sometimes actually literally backstabbing or conniving or scheming? What is the inner workings of the high table? What does the high table actually look like? You watch, it's just a whole bunch of like old white dudes that get together at Denny's that control the world or something like that. Like Warehouse 13.
Especially after the events of John Wick 4, there's a lot of intrigue that I have now of like, there's no way that all of the families involved at the high table are all just like orphan collectors. That feels off, but at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised. But like also just like the very nature of the kind of the world that they've set up. I don't hate it. I just like you said, I think it would have to be very Godfather-esque. And I don't know if I would want that in a film kind of genre. I would almost want it just to be a show on Peacock. It would be a really cool opportunity for them to really explore more of the lore and really flesh that out some more. Because if I do have a nitpick on John Wick 4 at all, there is like a bunch of lore they just kind of dump on you throughout the film.
That's kind of always been the case, though.
Yeah, but like most of the time, it was at least the dumping was not so much that there was times when I was like, "Whoa, okay, I've got to track some stuff." And to my credit, maybe I should have watched a refresh or something like that, because like the guy that John kills in the opening of the film,
I don't think we've seen him before. I thought he was replacing somebody else.
Why he's important? He was, but I meant more like why his station was important and why like killing him meant so. Like killing anybody in that under the high table is a big deal, but I just wasn't sure as far as like, okay, like what is his place in this world? I don't remember, but there's I think a lot we can explore there. I really, really, really love that through Nobody we gave John another chance to save a dog, which was very like
brings it full circle.
Chef's kiss. Love it. But yeah, I'm excited for any spinoff they bring here, really, at this point.
I loved with the 4th one, especially the introduction of other continentals. I think it'd be super cool about like seeing what does a manager at a different continental deal with on a day-to-day basis. We got a little bit of that with the Osaka Continental. Not so much with the New York branch, but we've seen enough of the New York ones over the years, and we're going to get a whole show about the New York Continental. But is it like the Grand Budapest Hotel where all the hotel managers like are on each other's speed dial at any time and are always there to help out? Or do the hotel managers get along? Or do they have some own beef like a Penguin and a Two-Face situation? I think that kind of dynamic could be super interesting. The manager of the Osaka Continental, super cool, and I want more of him because honestly, he has one of my favorite lines that I've ever heard in any movie that actually caused me to just pause for a second in a theater, just dwell on it for a little bit of, what was it? Friendship means little when it's easy or something like that.
Yeah, when it's convenient, yeah.
Yeah, when it's convenient. I'm just going...
Friendship means nothing when it's convenient. I'm just like, oh, yes, let's go. Yeah, I definitely would love to see more of that. With all that being said, too, I'm curious as to if the new movie that's from the same producers, what is it, Sisu? There was some trailer in this but it's by the John Wick people.
Yeah.
Is if
that angry German movie
will end up, which I love that literally in their marketing they're like, do you want to see a bunch of Nazis get destroyed? You'll love this movie then. I was like, okay, sure.
A German Continental.
I'd be curious to see if that ties into the John Wick universe, or if this is literally just like, hey, we want to make another John Wick-esque movie, let's do that. But either way, I'm super excited for whatever we get from this property.
So next up, we got I'll be honest here, bizarre Marvel news. So Marvel, ahead of Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars, is really high on bringing back previous Marvel actors, or rumors have circulated forever about bringing previous Marvel actors back. Well, there's one character that some people definitely have been clamoring for to come back. And not that it makes any sense, but they will be returning. Liv Tyler is returning as Betty Ross in Captain America New World Order, to which I'm just going, for why? Like, Liv Tyler is not a bad actress, but Marvel, like, goes out of their way to ignore Incredible Hulk. Like, yes, we got Thunderbolt Ross back for Civil War, and I'm sure he was going to be a bigger role in this before he ultimately passed away, and he's going to get recast with Harrison Ford. But by and large, if I remember correctly, it's because it's a legal thing. Like, distribution of that is still from Universal's end of things. I know there was a very vocal minority that wanted Betty Ross back, but I'm just going, why? She wasn't a really big part of Incredible Hulk. And also, Hulk hasn't necessarily been the A-lister in the MCU that he frankly deserves or has been in the past. Like, Mark Ruffalo, as much as I love Mark Ruffalo's Hulk, he's the friendly Hulk too much nowadays. He is not the Incredible Hulk. He is the polite Hulk nowadays, with a son with a terrible bowl cut now. Like, the Betty Ross era represents a different age of Marvel. Like, some people have already brought up an interesting point that I'm just going, no, that's a bad idea. Of, she's in this because she is from a different universe, and it's the universe is collapsing in on itself, creating incursions. And I'm going, or we just have never had Betty Ross in the MCU yet, besides Incredible Hulk, and they're just bringing her back. It's more just weird to me because Incredible Hulk came out in 2010, the same year as Iron Man 2, I believe. I think it was either the same year as Iron Man or the same year as Iron Man 2, one of the two, because Iron Man shows up at the end. Why are we waiting 13 years to bring back this one character that wasn't particularly a big deal in Incredible Hulk, other than cheap nostalgia points of just like, oh, hey, we did that thing where we brought back somebody else, and everyone's just going, it's Betty Ross. I actually had to double check to go, all right, which one's the Hulk character and which one's the one that made the American flag, so I don't get this mixed up for the graphic, because I care that little about Betty Ross, and I don't get why they're making this big deal about her return.
I don't either. I really don't. To me, especially like in a movie that we're not sure what is going to happen with New World Order. I love Liv Tyler, but sure, okay, whatever. Bring back people from old Marvel movies, but heaven forbid you make good films now. I guess I don't know. This is the most like one note boring thing to do. I don't, if they make her from another universe, I'm gonna hate it. Absolutely. Genuinely want no multiverse stuff happening in this movie. Captain America doesn't need it. I think I don't need the multiversal stuff in my Captain America movie. I'm so frustrated with how the multiverse stuff has gone so far. It would be so nice to have a break from it. So nice to have one movie be like, yo, we know this stuff is, maybe we can acknowledge it or something, but we're dealing with this threat right now. Which would such a great breather.
The weird thing is there's not one Incredible Hulk character in this movie. There's three. Because we've got her coming back. We've got Thunderbolt Ross, albeit with a different actor, with Harrison Ford, who I'm just so looking forward to Harrison Ford on the press tour for this movie. Harrison, what really drew you to this material? I needed a new patio. Or something to that effect of like, they had a good sale on
fix
cars.
My plane after crashing it again.
Yeah, I had to fix my plane. Oh, but then also you get Tim Blake Nelson as the leader, not only in this movie, but supposedly as the main villain, to which I'm going, yes, a Hulk villain as the villain in a Captain America movie. Sure. Okay. It's, again, Marvel trying to get around that legal loophole of like, so we can't make a Hulk movie, but we can use pieces from Hulk in other movies. It's called Ragnaroking, and we'll just keep doing that. I'm going, is this for the benefit of this story? Like, I'm looking forward to seeing Sam be the new Cap.
Absolutely.
I have been worried about this movie, though, just because it feels like this is going to be almost too big of a story. That I'm just like, the reason why Captain America the Winter Soldier is still one of my favorite MCU movies of all time, if not my favorite, that's a pretty small scope story. Yeah, it's about Hydra potentially killing a third of the population, but before that, it's government espionage. It's pretty tight and confined. This seems like they're just trying to make a big, epic, grand scale story. I'm going, that is not what new Captain America needs. He needs his own, like, ramp up to get to a certain point. He needs his own personal story. And I know some people are like, well, you got that in Falcon Winter Soldier. That is not the same. Not everyone watched Falcon Winter Soldier. Like, I don't know. Too many cooks might be in the kitchen on New World Order, but it could just be me getting too worried about it because we're still so far out and we don't really know too much about it. But I just want Sam to be treated better, and I feel like he might be stuck in the middle of a bloated mess here.
Yeah, and I feel bad for him too, because I genuinely really love his Captain America. That season finale was so good for him in the show that because up to that point I was kind of like, I don't know if he's going to pull this off, but then seeing Cap being able to fly with the wingsuit, but then also use the shield was so cool. I need way more of it. I don't know why we're doing a Hulk villain in a Captain America movie, but maybe it'll be cool. Who knows? All I know is if they save Hulk for like, let Ruffalo's Hulk lose it finally, and that's how you introduce Wolverine, then sure, let's do that. But I don't know.
So, for anybody that's been following any form of Disney movies within the past, 20 years, they like them some live-action remakes or adaptation of theme park attractions. But this one in particular, I'm just going, why? There's other ideas you can go with here, because apparently Disney is doing a live-action hybrid movie of the Aristocats. Now, I'll be honest, I have seen the Aristocats quite a bit. It was one of those movies that I had not the actual Disney VHS of, but like it was clearly recorded over something else. So I could recite the commercial breaks and whatnot on it. Aristocats is fine. I have not really gone back and rewatched it a ton as an adult just because I remember watching it, but I don't necessarily remember it, which is probably not the biggest sign of quality for this movie, but who knows? Maybe I do need to go back and rewatch it. I remember the music and the colors very vividly. So getting an actual musician to be doing this, cool. Questlove from The Roots, from Jimmy Fallon and whatnot, he's going to be writing and producing this movie, and I believe doing the music, which, okay, but I have a little bit more faith than in some other projects, because while I'm not overly familiar with Questlove's work outside of music, supposedly he did do a incredibly well-received documentary like a year or two ago that either garnered him an Academy Award or got a nomination for it. So I'm going,
fair.
Okay, this guy does have a filmmaking background. Cool. Also, he's a pretty decent name in the industry. He probably could have had whatever Disney remake they were thinking about throwing at him. Why he turned down Country Bears? I don't know. He could have done great with that. Bears, I refuse to let that die.
Don't you start. No.
If he's attached to Aristocats, and maybe he's got a good idea cooking here. Maybe he wants to bring that more like jazz sensibility to it. I just worry when I hear live action hybrid of Aristocats. We all just start internally screaming, thinking about Taylor Swift and Judi Dench's Cat movie again with the buttholes. We're just going, nah, never again, never again. Josh?
I'm going to be honest with you. This really makes me mad. I love Questlove. I think he's great. I think putting him for Aristocrats is fine. I have seen Aristocrats since, I was a kid. It's cool. It's a fun movie. Not particularly dense or anything like that. Could be a lot of fun. But you're telling me that we're going to skip like I know. Okay.
I know where this is going.
We're not doing Atlantis. We're not doing the Hercules one isn't official, right? That's not
no. Last time we heard that is official. The Russos are just taking their dear sweet time on it, and they're making it a musical. That's which fine. I'm just going.
Fine. I'll let them have that. That's fine. But of all of your properties, excluding my obsession with Treasure Planet and Atlantis, you're saying this is the one? This is it? Like. Aristocrats is cool. It's not a terrible movie.
Aristocats. Cats.
I don't care. I literally don't care. I'm so mad because if you're going to remake something, at least make it one of your interesting movies. At least make
They're running out of those.
I know.
I'm worried.
But I'm so pissed.
I'm worried that this is going to go the route of the Lady and the Tramp remake. Yes, people, there was a Lady and the Tramp remake, and I'm sure you all forgot about it until I just now brought it up because
yes,
exactly. But yeah, there's so many other Disney properties that I'm just going, why are we doing this instead of? Yes, we beat the Treasure Planet and Atlantis thing to death, but even take those aside, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Swiss Family Robinson, Treasure Island, just Treasure something. Gosh.
All of
Meet the Robinsons, I don't care. Something.
Do a live action. I'm literally looking at the wiki right now. Okay, I guess Bug's Life is not in the running for some reason.
No,
Let's
thank
do
you.
Tarzan. Why not? There's so many.
Since we never got a sequel. Since we never got a sequel, though. Since we never got a sequel, though. Well, I mean, we got an animated series that none of you watched, even though it's glorious. A live action Big Hero 6 movie, please.
I mean, there's that. I mean, like a live action Tangled. Why not? We're
I
still
will
doing
watch the
princesses.
crap out of a live action Tangled.
Oh, dude, like there's just like a live action. I don't know. Somehow doing a Monsters Inc. would be interesting. I don't know how
I don't want that. I don't want that. Randall would scare me.
There's just like so much though that like why is
live action Cars?
Like I almost said Pinocchio, but I was like, they just did that. They literally just did. Bambi, sure, why not?
But do it like the Rock parody on SNL.
Yes, but like
they're doing Peter Pan. They're doing Little Mermaid. Or even
like a Robin Hood. Do a Robin Hood. Do Peter Pan.
Don't
do Pete's Dragon. Do Fox and the Hound.
Tempt me. See, it's a good middle ground for us because I'll watch it because it's a Robin Hood movie. Josh will watch it because
I hate you. I hate you so much. I will get off this call right now. I'm so mad that you did that.
You set yourself up for it, though.
I did. But also like a live action, quote unquote live action, like Great Mouse Detective would be a lot of fun, or even just like a sequel for it would be cool. I don't get why Aristocats. I'm sure Questlove is going to do a great job. This is no knock on him or anything that he's going to be putting out. I just don't get why Aristocats.
Lastly, for our news this week, it's another one of those. Okay. This is uber random, but also like kids of a certain age are going to be very confused by this just in general. And that is that Robert Downey Jr. is in talks to star in a remake of Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo. And I am immediately panicking because, I was alive and I could still remember the anger that was caused by Gus Van Sant's remake of Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho with Vince Vaughn. And I'm immediately going, let's not have a 98 Psycho remake, please. Why? Like, why? This is... I'm trying to find words, but why? Like, I get that you're running low on... Well, okay. I was about to say, I know you're running low on ideas, Hollywood, but that's not actually true. I'm not one of those a-holes. Hollywood's run out of creativity. No, Hollywood's more creative now than it's ever been before. You're just too lazy to go out and find it yourself. You just want to be spoon-fed original ideas, but then spit it out when you actually don't go out and see it. Edge of Tomorrow. This is...
Yeah,
there's
or that movie...
Huh?
Live, Die, Repeat.
People have remade Hitchcock's movies in the past with some tweaks to them. Like Disturbia with Shia LaBeouf. Josh is still dying for some reason.
I'm sorry. It was such a stupid joke, but I just remember the almost 20-minute discussion where you and I were talking about the same movie, and we're like, no, it's not called that.
For reference, Live, Die, Repeat, and Edge of Tomorrow, and All You Need Is Kill are three completely separate names for the same movie. Oh my gosh, All You Need Is Kill. And it confused Josh for way too long. But
oh man.
Like, movies have somewhat adopted Hitchcock in the past of, like, Shia LaBeouf's Disturbia is essentially just Hitchcock's Rear Window, except they didn't have the audacity and the huevos to just call it Rear Window. They kind of tweaked some stuff. Like, the fact that you're just going, we're just going to remake Vertigo. Besides Robert Downey Jr., anyone involved in this movie actually see the original, or they're just like, hey, man, Hitchcock's been dead for a while. We can mine his stuff for content. We can remake that. Kids don't know any other Hitchcock movies besides Psycho, and maybe some of the illiterate ones have heard of The Birds. We'll just remake his stuff.
Okay, cool. So I'm illiterate. Got it. Heard.
North by Northwest. Vertigo.
Oh my gosh. Here's my thing, man. And this is kind of probably going to get me some points taken away, but I'm really not all that much of an Alfred Hitchcock fan. I think I see why people are like, he's, one of the best guys in horror. He really changed the genre, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, what kind of genre was it way back then? So it wasn't, it's fine. I don't really care for him and his way of storytelling. His ways of getting certain reactions out of people for
You're thinking of
camera's
Kubrick.
sake were questionable.
You're thinking of
to say the
Stanley
least.
Kubrick.
I don't. Maybe, but
Yeah, you're thinking of
no,
Stanley
because
Kubrick.
didn't they, in Psycho, they actually they surprised her, and that's why her reaction was so genuine, I thought.
No.
Okay, well, maybe I'm just crazy. Anyway, I mean, I'm crazy, but that's not the point.
If we were any other podcast, we would claim that was truth without actually looking it up.
Yeah, but I'm not that big of a Hitchcock fan. I'm all about taking older movies and adapting them to what they could look like now. I am a fan of that. I do like Robert Downey Jr. And I would be interested to see him in some other kinds of roles that aren't just and this is Robert Downey Jr. playing Iron Man, playing this guy. I would love to see him kind of do something else that's also not Sherlock. So sure, why not? Give the man some work.
Why'd you have to go bring up Sherlock? Now I'm mad that we still don't have Sherlock Holmes 3, as we talked about weeks ago. It's clearly his fault that it hasn't gotten made. Besides Sherlock Holmes, and especially with him as Tony Stark in the Iron Man movies, people seem to forget that at one point, Robert Downey Jr. was an incredibly prestigious actor. So while I'm questioning why this needs to happen, I'm hoping that this is one of those movies that people go, oh, wow, he can do more than just comic book movies. I'm going, yeah, he's been nominated for Academy Awards before. I think he won for Chaplin, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
He should have won for Tropic Thunder because he was a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude.
No. No.
But he is actually a great actor besides just genre movies. So I'm hoping this is something that he's passionate about, because over the past few years, he's taken on more of a producing side of things. So he's been more selective with the project that he takes on because, he doesn't need to take jobs for the money. I think he got paid quite well for Iron Man. So maybe he has a strong attachment to this. He is a phenomenal actor after all. He's also in Oppenheimer, if I remember correctly, coming out later this year, which we've heard is now 3 hours, to which I'm just going, oh, sweet Jesus. And then on top of that, just because I was like, Instagram, sometimes you're a really wonderful place. Somebody posted that Oppenheimer's going to have a 3-hour runtime. And somebody's like, what Greta Gerwig should do is say that Barbie has a 3-hour and 1 minute runtime just to spite Christopher Nolan because they're coming out the same day.
Yeah, because Barbie's coming out the same day. I really think Oppenheimer is going to bomb.
And they'll actually have it in the theater.
Guys, the nuclear bomb is a real effect, guys. It's a real effect.
We actually blew up the state of Arizona.
We actually dropped a real nuclear bomb and filmed it.
Say psych. Say psych, man.
Say psych, Nolan. Say psych.
This episode is sponsored by TeePublic, your one-stop shop for all things Uncharted Media merch, whether it is t-shirts, mugs, hoodies, whatever you want with the Uncharted Media logo or other fantastic designs. Go support the show in that way by getting some Uncharted Media merch. Also, subscribe to us wherever you get your podcast, whether it's iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube, or now on Amazon Podcasts. If any of you listen to Amazon Podcasts, we're on there as well. And Audible, I believe. We're also on Audible now. So yeah, check us out there. Subscribe to the channel. Help us get to 1,000 subscribers. That's our goal. Now, it is time, not to rumble, but to talk about wrestlers in movies. And the quality of that has gotten significantly better than the days of Hulk Hogan and No Holds Barred, because sweet baby Jesus, if a camera is never on Hulk Hogan again, the world will be a better place. And I mean that in movie and in real life, scumbag. So obligatory dig at Hulk Hogan. Oh, this episode might be just littered with that because everyone knows every once in a while you just got to take out the trash and pretend it doesn't exist anymore. Because the only person worse than Hulk Hogan is Ric Flair.
Oddly enough, yeah, I don't have Hulk Hogan on this at all because I didn't feel like we're looking at best performances, and there's nothing that he does that's good. So
Dookie. So, like I said at the beginning, I didn't intend for this to happen, but I ended up with 10 wrestlers and 1 movie per wrestler. It's not like a hodgepodge. Yeah.
Okay. Good for you.
I didn't mean to do it that way, but just kind of how it ended up happening. Because, yeah, some are really, really good. Others I'm just like, I think you deserve more credit than what you've been given in the past for things. Case in point, I'll start with this one, just because it's not a movie people talk about nowadays, but I think he should get an honorable mention. 1, because of the stuff that happened on set of the movie, and 2, he actually fits the role quite well. And that is that the iconic quad-tearing man himself, Kevin Nash, also known as Diesel.
I didn't even count that. I was like, nah, I'm good.
In a famous comic book movie, The Punisher.
Wait, what? I
knew it. I knew I was going to psych out Josh with this one.
Okay. I thought we were going TMNT, but okay.
I knew it. I purposely psyched Josh out on this one.
You're so rude.
Nope. Kevin Nash was in the original Thomas Jane Punisher movie as one of the henchmen, and he actually fits the role incredibly well. But also, I wanted to give him an honorable mention because my man got stabbed in the chest on camera and didn't bat an eye. So what happened was there's this big action set piece where he comes in, breaks in, and starts beating up Thomas Jane's Punisher, while Thomas Jane grabs a knife and stabs him in the shoulder. The problem is, we had a rust situation here, and it was a real knife, not the prop knife. So when Punisher stabs Kevin Nash in the pec, 1, Kevin Nash somehow no-sells it completely. I'm going, how? How are you no-selling this? But he gets stabbed for realsies on camera in the shoulder, and you see the knife come out covered in blood, going, all right, if nothing else, I'll give you credit for that. But as a lot of times wrestlers are cast as big scary henchman number 3, it's Mark Calloway, also known as The Undertaker, has done that numerous times. Steve Borden, Sting did that a couple times, at least once on Walker, Texas Ranger, oddly enough. But Kevin Nash, when he wants to, and when he feels like it, actually can put in a good performance and a good personality. Also, never saw it, but supposedly he was also quite good in Magic Mike. But for the honorable mention of getting stabbed and somehow being able to no-sell that on camera, a different comic book movie than I'm sure what Josh was thinking of. Josh, what did you think I was talking about with Kevin Nash in a comic book movie?
Because he plays Super Shredder in the TMNT 2
for like 30 seconds.
Yeah, like for those 30 seconds are just long enough to tear his quad.
Probably.
Oh man. But yeah, no, I didn't even have him on this list because I was like, I don't like, you don't see his face really in that at all. So it's like, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna start off though with I guess my honorable mention, because he's not a really big part of the movie, but he kind of fits into the cast really, really well. The Great Khali in the Longest Yard is one of my favorite things. Yeah. What would you? Oh, do we psych? I mean, I did that on purpose. I psyched you. Yeah.
So it's not on my list, but I'll put it as an honorable mention. When you say Great Khali in a comedy, I think Easter Island Head and Get Smart.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, I forgot about that. I forgot.
Don't turn around. There's a big guy in the back of the plane who looks super dangerous. That is profiling, and I will not have it. Oh my God, that's a bad guy. That's a really bad guy. His head looks like one of the Easter Island heads.
But like, I love. Oddly enough, Goldberg is also in Longest Yard.
Yes, he is. He's also in Santa's Sleigh, which is not on my list today.
I do not care for Goldberg in any capacity, wrestling or acting.
Santa's Sleigh is not bad though. Like, he's fun in Santa's Sleigh. Also,
yeah, despite him. But like, I've met the Great Khali. He's such a cool dude. Like I love him in Longest Yard. Have I ever told you that story? The time I met him?
Story time.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just realized I just dropped that. Like, I just make sure that I'm not name dropping randomly.
Yeah, that needs some lead in.
Okay, so my brother and I are at the grocery store with my mom, like at like 9, it's like 10 p.m. or something like that. Down in Houston, and I guess they had just had a show or something, and we turn around in this Kroger in the middle of a subdivision, and there's the Great Khali just towering above us, and like where his like assistant is like buying some groceries for him, and we were just like gave him the head nod. He just like gave us the head nod, and we were like, how are we supposed to react to this? Oh man!
I'm trying to think. The most famous people I've met. I've run into Kevin Owens in Disney before. I ran into Aiden English twice at Epcot, and I ran into Roman Reigns while I was working at Universal. And that guy that used to host Fox News, the old guy, I saw him on a thing taking me to a plane one time. But
no, yeah, sorry. That it was the Great Khali, and I was like, yeah.
I've known you for how long? You're just now telling me you ran to the Great Khali? Actually,
because I don't like. It's not for obvious reasons. It's not a memory that like has like that comes up and it's like, oh yeah, I met that guy. Like, because it was literally in the middle of a Kroger, like of all the places.
Also, he's a great personality, but he's never been the greatest wrestler. I think you'd be a little more excited if it was a better wrestler. Like,
yeah, maybe.
If it was somebody else, really you'd be like, oh, I'm excited. But as it is, it's like, Great Khali, that's cool. It'd be like if I ran into Jinder Mahal at Publix. If I ran into Jinder Mahal, I'd be like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Well,
you put in some hard work. I'm proud of you. Good for you. It's not like I'd be like super invested, but like. Whatever. To go to Jinder's credit, he has put in a lot of hard work over the years, like to try to get better. So, like, good on him. I would be remiss if I did not speak about my boy Randy Savage in the role that I quote probably the most. Bonesaw in Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. It's like, come on, we got 3 minutes of playtime. And then honestly, the first Spider-Man has probably one of the most accurate depictions of a wrestling booker of all time.
Yes.
Just going, the ad said 500. It wasn't 3 minutes. Therefore, I don't owe you for 3 minutes. I'm going, oh, did you not get Paul Heyman for this movie? Because I'm paying someone. I'm actually surprised that you said anything about a Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie in a positive light.
Rude. I'd be true.
Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
You're not wrong. I've not particularly fond of those, but like I love the character of Bonesaw is so entertaining. Like, do I wish we get more of him in the movie? No, he stays about as long as you need, does what he needs to do, and then gets out. But like, all the time, like super memorable lines. Like somebody will ask me if I'm ready. I'm like, yes, Bonesaw is ready. Like, yeah, like that's so great.
Also, because we can play our favorite game of 6 Degrees of Separation, I think it's funny that in the first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, he fights Bonesaw. But in the comics, Spider-Man fights the wrestler Crusher Hogan, who was Macho Man Randy Savage's greatest rival, Hulk Hogan. It's all connected.
I hate this game so much.
No, seriously, there's even a Crusher Hogan reference in Far From Home in the background of one of the scenes of going, ha-ha, fun reference. There's even a Crusher Hogan reference in first Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. Macho Man, wow. Also, as much as I hate him, CM Punk has a really funny video where they have him like watch wrestling in movies. So like Nacho Libre, Spider-Man, Fighting with the Family, and he grades like how realistic it is. And they show him the scene from Spider-Man. And as a kid, I never noticed how just wrong it is. They're just like, surprise steel cage match. If you have a steel cage match, you are advertising that crap weeks out to fill the gate on that one. Also, you don't just surprise someone with a steel cage. You can blatantly see it above the ring.
Yes.
Also, that is not how a steel cage looks. And you can't, the ropes are not that straight. It's a weird scene to break down, but if you're a wrestling fan, that's one of the worst like wrestling scenes of all time. because the physics are just all kinds of off as we critique wrestling physics in a Spider-Man movie that also 30 seconds before randomly has Viola Davis in it for some reason.
Yes, it's so weird. Okay, look.
No, Octavia Spencer. Octavia Spencer, not Viola Davis.
I know that that first Tobey Maguire movie has everybody, has some people's hearts, and I get it. I understand why, but it's okay to admit you have a wrong opinion. It is okay at best. It is such a weird, wild movie. Yes, we recognize that it started, it was really the big start for comic book movies in the modern era of filmmaking, but like, come on, it's not that great.
But what is a great movie? I don't know if Josh will have this person in it. One of Josh and I's favorite movies of all time, Warrior. And by that I mean Kurt Broken Neck Angle.
Holy crap, how did I forget? Actually, you know what? I know why I forgot. Because he does not look like Kurt Angle in this movie.
It's the eyes.
At all.
I think as much as we love Kurt Angle, I'm pretty sure when he filmed Warrior, it was in the height of his perk days. So, there's probably a reason Kurt looks a little glazed over in the eyes, because I don't know if he was completely there. But the irony is also not lost on me, as much as Josh and I love Warrior, that you cast Kurt Angle, Mr. Olympian. I won the Olympics with a broken freaking neck. I am the most American wrestler ever. And in the movie, he is playing the undefeated Russian named Koba. And I'm just going,
I love it.
Come on, the people making this has to have some form of irony here. It would be like you cast Hulk Hogan as a bad guy for something. Oh, wait. Muppets from Space did that. Yes. I'm referencing Muppets from Space.
Okay, first of all, I remember having a good amount of love for Muppets from Space, but I do not remember Hulk Hogan in that movie.
Yeah, remember he's playing the security guard or something, and they call in security. He's just like, Hollywood Hulk Hogan, what are you doing here? Don't you know? I'm the bad guy now. And gets rid of Rizzo. He's the one that tosses Rizzo into the lab race, the testing down in the basement.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna have to find this and rewatch it
because it's NWO Hulk Hogan.
What in the world? Okay.
When it comes to random freaking cameos and obscure knowledge, I am very unrivaled in this department. Be like, oh yeah, that random dude that was in a movie for 5 seconds back in 1997? Sure, why not?
I also I can't tell you the last time I thought about even give it an ounce of brain juice to Muppets from Space.
I watched it once during quarantine, and I was like, oh, it's not as good as I remember. Muppet Treasure Island, on the other hand, Muppet Treasure Island is just as good, if not better.
Oh, yeah, it's always going to be great, but that's because it's got Tim Curry in it.
Yeah, and he still only had one song.
While we're still talking about big men, we've got...
All right there, Big E.
Before we get... that
about
clip
big
I think I sent it to you.
Bumping meat.
Big sweaty men. Slapping with big meat. Slapping their meat.
See, I don't laugh until Xavier Woods just dies.
He is. Anyway, we'll talk about what is also one of our favorite movies, The Princess Bride, with Andre the Giant playing Fezzik. Love him. He's, kind of just basically playing himself, but is easily one of the most comforting.
Few less beers than usual.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know. The man could pound down 3 six-packs and still be fine, because he's a very large man. But yeah, his performance as Fezzik in Princess Bride is a lot of fun. I appreciate that they didn't try to make him do stuff that didn't make sense for him. His fight with the great the great Pirate Roberts, if I remember.
Dread Pirate Roberts.
Dread Pirate, there it is.
Wesley.
is actually pretty cool. It's a lot of fun. He's easily one of the more quotable people in the movie.
Anybody want a peanut?
Because everyone is quotable in that movie. But yeah, he's fantastic. I think we'd be remiss to not bring him up when we're talking about best performances.
Yeah, he's definitely on my list just because I think he's not the best performance on today's list. I think he's the most significant because he's one of the very first. Like, I won't go into too much detail, but I'll have somebody that played somebody else that was honestly, when I think of like one of the first wrestlers in movies, but then again, it was Plan 9 from Outer Space, so probably not the best calling card for that. But then you got like, was it Santos was the guy that was in all the Mexican movies for a while there. Like, wrestlers were in movies all the time, but from an American audience, when you think wrestlers in movies, a lot of times you still think Andre the Giant. Like, he's still the go-to.
Yeah.
And it's just that, I don't want to go with the cliche, but I will. Andre's personality was larger than life, especially in Princess Bride, and I knew Rob Reiner knew how to capitalize on that especially well. Everyone in that is so perfectly cast, even if, you know, some of them, Mandy Patinkin, have gone off the rails in recent years and are total divas in real life, apparently. I'm just going, how did this movie ever get made? So I got one that I know for a fact won't be on Josh's list, and honestly, it wasn't even on my list until recently, until I'm just looking at it going, while I don't love these movies, it's not this person's fault. And for what they're given, I think they do a pretty good job at it. And that is former WCW wrestler Tyler Mane, who played Michael Myers in Rob Zombie's Halloween. In both
wow.
In both Rob Zombie Halloween movies, I don't like the movies, but apart from James Jude Courtney in the Halloween movies, he's probably the most intimidating Michael Myers, both just from the physicality. The mask is, for the most part, good, except for when it's on little mini Michael, and it's like Michael Myers got shrunk in the wash and he's chasing his sister. That scene always makes me laugh, even though it shouldn't. Tyler Mane is a very good Michael Myers. We've had good Michael Myers. We've had bad Michael Myers. H2O. As much as I love you, H2O, you are easily the worst Michael Myers known to man. Don't purr like a cat. That's weird. But Tyler Mane is a very good Michael Myers. Do I wish he actually kept his mouth shut at the end and screamed "die" at Loomis? Absolutely. But that's not a Tyler Mane issue. He brings the physicality. There's enough of the old Michael that I can still see what they're going for, but he's got this modern viciousness that was prevalent with 2000s horror remakes, like with Leatherface, with Jason. They're much larger and beefier than they were in their original counterparts. Don't always agree with it, but the physicality of not having your face means you rely more on your movement, and I think being a former wrestler, Tyler Mane understood that. While he will never be my favorite Michael Myers, while I don't love the Rob Zombie ones, I think he is a solid, reliable hand in those movies because, you know, he doesn't have dialogue he has to worry about.
Yep. I didn't know about him in those movies, so it's a great choice. Love your choice. I have four more, and three of those are the big three. So
okay, I have six more, so I can bust through some of these real quick. Another throwback. This guy was the epitome of old school before transitioning to probably what he's more known for, besides being a wrestler, at least for a certain generation, being a wrestling commentator. Jesse the Body Ventura in The Predator. I ain't got time to bleed.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Josh.
Wow, I haven't thought about that in forever. Like, this is one of those, like, I looked up, like, I did some research and stuff like that, and I was like, some of these I just completely forgot about.
But Josh loves The Predator. All of the Predator movies. Especially Alien vs. Predator Requiem.
You know, I'm not going to tell you yes, because that's not true, and I don't want the internet backlash from that.
But getting back to Jesse Ventura, it's easy. It would have been so easy for The Predator to just be another dumb himbo action movie. And granted, a lot of these guys end up just being there to be on the kill count. Sure, James A. Janice has already covered that at some point or another. But all of them have such a distinct personality right off the bat, and Jesse Ventura already has this like larger-than-life personality that he brings, and it just works for that character. I don't think all the dialogue necessarily holds up in that original Predator movie. I'm going, oh,
No.
gross.
No, it does not.
But I mean, people still will go with those iconic lines of "I ain't got time to bleed," and with his big old minigun and whatnot. Good times. And then I know for a fact this one is not on Josh's list just because he's not seen this movie, but it is my favorite Tim Burton movie of all time, Ed Wood. Now, this is the one that I mentioned earlier that it was kind of a weird technicality of. So, all these, I was trying not to avoid movies involving wrestling. It's different for Kurt Angle and Warrior because it's like an MMA. He's not pretending to be a wrestler like Hulk Hogan in No Holds Barred. He's a wrestler pretending to be a wrestler type of thing. But it's different.
Dude playing another dude.
Really? Now you bring it full circle. But in Ed Wood, Tim Burton casts a old school wrestler by the name of George the Animal Steel. He cast him to play a former wrestler named Tor Johnson, who appeared in the movie Plan 9 from Outer Space. And honestly, the first time Heather and I watched Ed Wood, I'm going, is that George the Animal Steel? Because George the Animal Steel is a gremlin. And I mean that in the nicest way possible. Like, he looks like if Phil from Hercules was a human with the wrong proportions. Like,
so Phil from Hercules.
No, like if Phil from Hercules and Colin Farrell's Penguin merged into a person, it would be George the Animal Steel. But it worked for his character when he was wrestling, and it worked for Tor Johnson. So basically, his character, he gets brought onto the cast of Ed Wood's Plan 9 from Outer Space as this big lumbering, as a wrestler, but this big lumbering oaf, and he plays it so incredibly well. He's got this like perfect, almost Andre the Giant-esque voice, but not quite that deep, but just kind of the lovable idiot that just kind of does whatever. And so because they're paying a homage to the movie, there's a great scene when he's like opening a door and goes to the next set. It's like one of those just prop walls, and he just like walks into the door frame as he's going through, just and they're just like, and cut. That's great. Next scene. But he walked into the doorway. Are you sure you don't want to redo that? You know, in real life, you'd have that problem every day. It's real. It's gritty. Going, oh, all right, whatever. Like, it's a bit part, but it works so well for the movie in this insanely bizarre cast. Oh, also, Josh, if you want any reason at all, besides my high recommendation of why you should see Ed Wood is where you get the Sarah Jessica Parker is a horse joke originally from.
What?
That's where it's from.
Oh, you mean the joke that ruined her life? Like, yeah.
That's
okay.
originally
That's
from Ed Wood, because they're reading a review and she goes, "Do I really look like a horse?" To which the first time I watched that, I paused and going, "Oh, that's where that's from?" I thought South Park created that, but no, they just stole it from Ed Wood. But yeah, Ed Wood is great. George the Animal Steel is one of those like old like Greg the Hammer Valentine era wrestlers, and all of our casual movie audience is just going, "What?" Wild Samoans, that generation. I'm not helping my case
We're
here.
digging deep.
Yes.
We're digging deep here. Oh man. Yeah. So I guess it's time to talk about Adam Copeland in Vikings.
Cool. I don't have him.
Yeah. Adam Copeland, aka Edge, play one of the roles that made him realize that he could potentially come back to wrestling. He plays a character like, I want to say season 4 or 5, till the end of the show, named, and I'm gonna brood. I cannot do this first name. It's Flatnose.
What?
Sure, we'll say that's right. I'll probably get yelled at. His last name is Flatnose, and quite literally, like if you see it, Google a picture of his character right now. Like literally, the bridge of his nose is completely flat. Like somebody took a little hammer and like tinked it out. It's crazy. It's so weird. But he is like genuinely like he's pretty good in that show. Probably because he doesn't have to act a whole lot. I guess. It's pretty close to his like. I guess what his character is now, as far as wrestling goes, but he's pretty great in the show. It's not my favorite character in the show, but it's definitely in the performances that he has out there. It is certainly his best, because I wasn't about to pick the one from
Money Plane,
from the Flash show.
Money Plane.
No.
One of like the 5 people remember Money Plane. When you say Edge on Vikings, my immediate thought is how he never got his wife on that show is beyond me, because she also looks like she could just fit right in with that show. Beth Phoenix is freaking awesome, man. I'm actually surprised you have not mentioned this man earlier, because he's one of your all-time favorites and one of your all-time favorite movies, but maybe that's because you're saving him for later, in which case you could absolutely tell me that. Batista, in his probably his best role to date, Blade Runner 2049.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's great in Glass Onion, but even though it's not a big part in Blade Runner, that is what we call real acting right there. I think that's what Batista means, is like, I don't want to be like The Rock. I want to take real acting jobs, to which I'm just going, yeah, you actually are a real actor, and you put your own ego aside and work for the betterment of movies, and don't sabotage other movies that you have no desire to be in, because they might actually paint you as a villain. Black Adam. Oh, I'm sorry. I got caught in my throat. I meant to say Black Adam.
I was, obviously this is where we are. We're in the big 3 now at this point. Dave is easily, he was always one of my favorite wrestlers, to watch growing up. In the first Guardians, he's pretty great as Drax. I have a feeling he's going to be acting his butt off in the third. He kind of definitely phones it in the second one. But like his performance in Dune is minimal, because his character technically isn't important to the story yet. So we'll see how he goes, does going forward. But really, Blade Runner 2049, he's in the opening like 10, I think that's a 10-minute scene. I'm not 100% sure, but like he is, I'm going to say a lot about this specific performance, because like you said, like this is one of my favorite movies of all time, if not my favorite, that nobody else really saw, and that's okay. I've dealt with that. But how subtle he is. Like, obviously, yes, he's playing an android. He's not gonna have these big bombastic emotions, but the amount of story that he tells with just his eyes, and obviously the physicality is there. He's terrifying, but just everything about that performance of Sapper Morton is just so good. And honestly, out of our big 3, I think he is definitely the one that is the better actor of the 3. I say that knowing that there's a performance from one of our guys that's pretty good, but I definitely think he's got a body of work that he's forming right now that I think he's just outshining the other 2.
See, I'll save my one for last. I think we're on the same page about. I think that is the best individual performance of all wrestling, and I think that individual person has the bigger future. But both this person and Batista, back when they're wrestling and now as actors, have shown more of a propensity to learn and experiment with other projects, and that's why I think at the end of the day they're both going to end up as phenomenal actors, as opposed to one individual wrestler, also known as Dwayne Johnson, who, full credit to the man, he has found what works and he sticks to it. But in terms of acting, he's not the bravest or the most willing to try outside of his bubble, which is why, to me, the best performance that Dwayne Johnson's ever given is in both Jumanji movies, when he's actually not the alpha male hero type. Like, he looks it, but depending on which movie you're watching, he's still a dork. And I love that. Whether it's him, honestly, as a really, really good Danny DeVito. Like, his Danny DeVito makes the second one for me. Dwayne Johnson, for the past few years, but especially with the whole Shazam thing, just frustrates me because I think he can be a really, really great actor, but his own ego gets in the way of things. And also, this is he's the poster boy of what I say is the issue with modern action movies of refusing to lose or refusing to job. It's why I loved the John Wick movies so much, because as much as John Wick 4 is about John Wick and Keanu's the main character, Kane gets more of the shine in that movie than Keanu does. Like, Keanu...
Oh, absolutely.
Keanu is totally fine sharing the limelight with other people, giving the rub, making other characters. John Wick is not the most powerful character in the John Wick universe. Kane could easily beat him because of time and getting older. I'd say Mr. Nobody / the Tracker could take down John Wick now. He's not afraid to look vulnerable. I think The Rock's weakness has always been not showing that vulnerability. He's always the megastar, but he has that like Schwarzenegger / Stallone mindset as opposed to a John McClane mindset of like, I'm above the people. I am the big hero. Whereas, like, at least for me, the heroes that I connect with or that I like more are the more personal ones. And that's why I like Jumanji more for his performance, because he's vulnerable. He's funnier. He's trying something outside of his usual, albeit still fits in this category for Jumanji of, I'm in a khaki shirt in the middle of the jungle somewhere. Like, I get that that's the joke, but it's a joke because it's the truth. Like, you could look at his wardrobe for half the movies he's in. It's the exact same. Hobbs and Shaw, he's slightly different, but at the end of the day, he's still the big alpha male feuding with another alpha male with Jason Statham, who I like them both, but I get tired of their shtick at times. I'm just like, I'll only take a certain amount of punches because I don't lose fights. Whereas Keanu Reeves falls down a flight of stairs twice in John Wick 4. Like, man gets battered.
Dude. That scene where he falls down the stairs literally lasts for so long. I like, my jaw hit the floor because of how long it was.
It's all like, in camera too.
No way they're gonna let him do this. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I'm with you. His performance in Get Smart as Agent 23 is okay, but a lot of that is
he played a heel. Thank God.
Yes, but he plays a bad guy, so it feels different, feels unique. I kind of like him in Tooth Fairy, but that's because I like Tooth Fairy for some stupid reason. He's a little different in Central Intelligence, but I'm not a huge fan of that movie. But yeah, him, Dwayne Johnson,
Dave Johnson,
in the Jumanji movies is peak. I think that's the best he's ever been. Weirdly enough, I think the flattest he's ever been is in Black Adam. I think that is the most boring performance he's ever given.
It's terrible.
It's not good.
He cares more about being cool that he ends up looking like he's trying too hard to be cool.
It's almost reminiscent of Scorpion King, where he's like, I don't want to turn this into a session where we just bash on Dwayne. But he is good in the Jumanji movies. He is entertaining. He's able to step behind his ego, let other people shine as well. But yeah, that's really the only two. I would say Moana, but like, he's not really there. Technically, he's just a voice. So there's that, I guess. But yeah, he's definitely the Jumanji movies for Dwayne.
So then how many more you got? Because I have two. You have just one more?
I got one.
Okay. So then I think we're on the same page with that last one. So my second to last, and this was the top spot up until like 2 years ago. And this one role, if Andre the Giant in Princess Bride was like the first big wrestler turned actor, this is the one that became the template for a lot of wrestlers going forward when it comes to acting. Rowdy Roddy Piper in John Carpenter's classic They Live. I just recently bought this movie on 4K because it finally came out, and a nice steelbook. It's not my favorite Carpenter movie, just because that has an incredibly high bar with some other classic. I wonder what that could be. I still love They Live so much, and I don't know if it's the story or if it's more Roddy Piper's charisma, because he's the anti-Rock here. He has this everyman charisma. He gets his butt kicked by Keith David for a solid 10 to 15 minutes that goes on for way too long. And also, he has like every 90s dad's wardrobe and hairstyle for some reason. Like, every dad has that exact flannel shirt, but he's got that iconic line, "I've come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of gum."
A lot of bubblegum. And like, I can't tell you, like, this is how you know that he's great, is I can't tell you how many people I know that have never seen that movie, but know that quote, which is crazy to me because it's such a it's a really great line. Like that's a fantastic line.
And then Duke Nukem tried to rip it off.
Yes,
but
that's because Duke Nukem, it just does whatever it wants,
for better or for worse.
Yes,
but Roddy Piper always had such a charismatic energy to him, but like you're just drawn to him. He had this. Not in the same way as like a Jake the Snake of like you're drawn in by his words, by being mysterious. Roddy Piper was just charming. He had a fantastic way with words. And even when in his later years, he was in a lot of movies and not all of them were particularly good, he was always good in them. But this is like his best example of fun action, fun dialogue, ridiculously over the top action scenes that I feel like he helped choreograph. Especially that the street alley fight with Keith David, accompanied with honestly one of John Carpenter's best scores this side of Halloween and Halloween 3. And I also feel like John Carpenter did the music for Assault on Precinct 13. I can't remember. They Live is just an instant classic, but that was the template for a lot of years for like wrestler turn movies. I think that shifted about 2 years ago. So now I think the best performance by a wrestler in a movie / TV show has to be John Cena as Peacemaker in The Suicide Squad and then Peacemaker. Like, when we first saw him, let's go on. First of all, I still pat myself on the back saying I knew who Peacemaker was and I actually had Peacemaker comics before the movie came out. And I was super excited that they put the toilet bowl on his head.
Proud of you.
But we're going, really? James Gunn cast John Cena, who up until this point was known for that firefighter movie and for being Fred's dad. That's who you cast. Yes, I haven't forgot about that.
But also he was one of the only cool, really funny things about Trainwreck. He's
Bumblebee.
Really good in Trainwreck.
And Bumblebee
as well. Yeah. He's doing his whatever shtick in Fast 9. But yeah, Peacemaker all the way.
But see, the thing is with John Cena, for a lot of those movies, except for Bumblebee, he's great in Bumblebee, I think it was him doing the job that was required of him, but didn't really push him as an actor. Even in his wrestling days, people could criticize him, but the one thing you could never criticize Cena for was his charisma, but also his communication ability. Like him in interviews, but him in the ring, he is so fast. He is an amazing talker and he's got an amazing personality, so that was going to translate. Honestly, Cena's responsible for one of my favorite promos in history. It's in the build-up to Cena was fighting The Rock at WrestleMania, and The Rock had been away for a while, and Rock kept claiming that he still cared about WWE, and so Rock comes out and does a little promo, and Cena says something to the effect of, "I don't need words like hustle and loyalty to trend worldwide, just like I don't need notes for my promo written on my wrist. Nice ink, Rock." And he calls out The Rock for writing notes on his wrist, which I'm just going, oh, I didn't know you were allowed to do that. Oh, wait, that's because you're not. You have more stones than anyone. You can see The Rock get all up on his face, and Cena's like, you're not prepared? That's what you get. Which I'm going, yay, someone actually had the balls to put him in his place. But Cena was always a good talker, and I think he, in his prime, because people hated Cena so much as a wrestler that they overlooked how good of a talker he was. So when he made the transition to acting, it wasn't so surprising. It was surprising that he didn't pick better things, but fast forward to Suicide Squad and Peacemaker, I liked how we introduce Peacemaker into Suicide Squad, because leading up to it, James Gunn kept describing Peacemaker as like a douchey Captain America, which he absolutely is at the beginning. You're just going, oh yeah, he's just a cocky douche that's competing against Idris Elba's Bloodsport. But then it's one of my favorite pivots in any comic book movie of once they get the thing that they're trying to get in the mission, it's not a friendly rivalry anymore. It gets flipped. Peacemaker has been one of the villains this entire time, and we haven't been building a friendly rivalry between him and Bloodsport. We've actually been building the relationship between the main villain and the main hero. I'm going, oh, that's freaking brilliant. You did that all without us even noticing, but it wasn't a
super good.
It wasn't a big character shift. You're just going, yeah, of course Peacemaker's an a-hole and he's the villain, because like Marta says in Knives Out, of course it was you. You're an a-hole. Like, he's just the obligatory douche in the Suicide Squad. But then we get to Peacemaker, and you find out why he is the way he is. And he still has this rough outside. But then you get, honestly, one of the best acted scenes by a wrestler ever with the piano scene. And you're just going, stop. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it.
Dude, him as Peacemaker in the Suicide Squad, the moment that he kills Flag, or he's like in that whole fight, he's literally kind of almost begging Flag, just give it to me. I don't want to do this, but I will do what I have to do to complete the mission. And right now you're in the way. And the look of regret on his face as soon as he does it is incredible. I never thought we'd sit here and to say that, you know, John Cena can tell so much story with his face. I never thought that would be his level of acting, and yet here we are. The amount of, like, in the show, the amount of like being able to convey a very hard exterior, but also like someone who just loves everyone who cares about him, is so cool. The piano scene is incredible. Even like the finale where he finally faces down his dad is incredible. Like, I never ever thought that John would be the one that we'd be getting incredible performances from. I mean, obviously I'm biased. Batista in Blade Runner 2049 is, in my mind, going to be way better, but like, that's not to take away about the skill that John is bringing to the game. I'm excited for what he's doing next. I'm excited to see what Peacemaker's role is going to be in the DCU going forward, if at all. Because I want to see more John. I love him as an actor. I love him as a person. He's a really cool dude to watch in interviews. He just seems like such a good guy, and I'm really glad that of the guys that could have failed, it could have been him, especially with that being the head of the Marine. It could have. Now when I think of the Marine,
I think of the Miz, not John Cena.
And you know what? That's fair. It definitely started with him. And fair,
and 12 rounds Marine, too, wasn't it? Was he 12 rounds, or was Randy Orton 12 rounds?
Was him? No, he was 12 rounds. Those started with him, and to be fair, his are better than the other ones. Not that I've seen all of them, but I
saw the one with Dean Ambrose. That was bad.
Yeah, but that's because I love Dean. But yeah, John is. I'm so happy that he's been able to reach the level that he has, and I'm excited to see where he goes from here.
So we mentioned like Dean Ambrose or Randy Orton also being in other movies. I think wrestlers have only gotten better in movies just because I think directors know how to utilize them better, but also like with how WWE is structured now, with them being very much entertainment as well as being good in the ring, you have to wear many hats, and so I think they're getting better at the entertainment side of things. Is there anyone in either AEW or WWE currently that you could see being a good actor someday? There's been rumors for a couple of years now that Roman wants to transition to acting, to which I'm just going, are you going to give him just more than one line in Hobbs and Shaw? Because when I think wrestlers that I could see transition to acting, my go-to is always anyone in the New Day or Kevin Owens.
Yes. I agree. I would there's a part of me that would love to see Sammy do some stuff. But I don't know how I feel about that. I think that's just a bias towards Sammy.
Oh,
but
that's 100% a bias on my hand.
Yeah. But there's quite a few people. I think I'm trying to think off the top of my head, but it's very, very easy for wrestlers to transition into acting. It's just a matter of like a quality standpoint. So I would love to see Samoa Joe in some stuff. I would love to see him in some more, because I feel like he was in something and I just can't remember.
I could see him being in like a Never Back Down or what's that Jean-Claude Van Damme franchise? Bloodsport.
Kickboxer?
I could see being in a kickboxer or a Bloodsport movie.
You mean like how Dave Bautista was?
Yes.
And it was not good. I mean, his performance was fine, but the movie was terrible.
Yeah, notice how we didn't bring up Bautista in Man with the Golden Arms or Smallville. You know who I'm actually genuinely mad that they didn't become a bigger deal in Hollywood, because he to me is one of the funniest people that's ever been in WWE. R-Truth. If people aren't familiar with WWE, guys, just look up R-Truth's funniest moments, and oh my gosh, there are so many times that I've watched segments with him with my dad, and we both just bust up laughing of like, at this year's Money in the Bank, I conquered my fear of ladders. I'm gonna climb the ladder and grab the briefcase, and I'm gonna be Money in the Bank. And Kane goes, "Why? Truth, you're not even in the match." What? You sure? Yeah. Really? Yeah. Oh, my bad. That one's on me, y'all. Good luck. Be good.
He's so funny.
Or like,
he's so funny.
He's like wishing everybody good luck. Good luck. Good luck. He gets to the heels. No, I'm not wishing you good luck. Bye, guys. Like, pieces out. Or for those that don't know, a Royal Rumble, you're supposed to toss people over the top rope, and last person in the ring wins. R-Truth gets it mistaken for a ladder match. And so he brings in a ladder in the middle of the ring. That will always be funny to me, seeing a ring filled with like 15 people and a dude just plopping a ladder, not hitting anybody with the ladder, just plopping a ladder in the middle, just climbing it up, and they all just let him be. Gets the top, nothing there, and then just getting tossed over the side. R-Truth just makes me laugh. Kevin could be great. I'm on the fence if Seth could do it. I don't.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think given the right
Becky, yes,
the right start, it would be great to see Sasha Banks and some stuff. I think Drew McIntyre could just on his look alone.
Sheamus was in Ninja Turtles. Dang it!
Oh my gosh! How do we forget?
He was so perfect.
Oh, and he is so good as Peabody. Or was he Rocksteady? I don't remember.
Honorable mention, Freddie Prinze Jr. For those that don't know, Freddie Prinze Jr. was a writer for WWE for like 2 years.
Sure.
That counts.
He was. He really was.
He's a smart dude,
I'm trying
actually.
to think, man. Like there's a lot. Like there's a lot of people with really good looks. Like Randy Orton has a great look. He's
been in movies. He's not very good.
He's not. He can't act to save his life.
He's like what in 12 rounds 2 and like one of the condemns or something like that.
Yeah. Tommaso, I feel like could do something. He could be a lot of fun. But that's also probably is a little bit of a bias. Dakota Kai probably.
I know he's talked about it, but it could always just be his bid to get more money when his contract runs up. MJF has one of the most punchable faces in the world that I think could translate incredibly well to a skeezy douchebag in a movie. Like, that dude is too good on the mic. But also, I appreciate that he takes time every week to do this podcast with me.
So anyway, it's Colt Cabana, but whatever.
You're a Colt Cabana MJF hybrid. Also, do you want to be Colt Cabana these days?
Yeah, at this point. Yeah, I think there are some, but I don't know how they feel about it, because a lot of the guys that I can see in movies are like at the height of their career right now. So I wouldn't be expecting them to leave and go into movies. But regardless, it's been crazy to see how the quote unquote like framework for wrestler to movie star has changed, especially with Dave and John. And I really hope that we get more of that, because there's so many talents in the wrestling world that I just know if they were given the right opportunity with the right role, that they would really shine. And I just love seeing my guys win, my guys and girls win. You know what I mean?
Well, what do you guys think? What are some of the best wrestling performances that you think you've ever seen in movies and TV? Let us know down in the comments below. We always like hearing from you guys. Are you excited for Wrestlemania? Do you not care whatsoever? Did you just completely tune out this episode? Or put it on in the background? Whatever your thoughts, let us know down in the comments below. Always like hearing from you guys. And if you haven't already, subscribe to us on whatever platform you're listening to us on, whether it's iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Audible. And as always, subscribe to us on the main Uncharted Media podcast feed, wherever that is, and the Uncharted Media YouTube channel. And as always, stay sharp, movie guys and gals.